Welcome back, everyone. What a way to start the Champions League campaign. A 2-0 victory away against Athletic Club. I'll be breaking down what I thought of the game. And let's be honest, it was a really odd one, especially after the last match. And I think everyone was expecting Arsenal to kind of go out in an attacking manner. But nevertheless, let's just get into it. So the first 45 minutes were solid, but not perfect. Arsenal had good possession, built some promising attacks, couldn't find the breakthrough. And Athletic Club defended in such a way that we're not used to. There was a real compact midfield, but often they defended with such a high line that Arsenal were able to get in and beyond if they wanted to. And I would say that kind of leading on from that, Gyökeres, what a start he had. Like, he did more of what Gyökeres does in that first kind of 10 to 20 minutes than he has done at Arsenal the whole time in the Premier League. I've said it on here with Wockles on the Fockles podcast, and I expect Gyökeres to really, really show what he's about in the Champions League. He is made for the Champions League, and my God, did he look good. However, this midfield, it irks me, it worries me. With Odegaard missing, we lack this kind of creativity in the attacking third, and unfortunately, Athletic Club really took advantage of that mid-block structure. I don't like Marino playing alongside Rice and Zubimendi. There's nothing to say that he did wrong individually, but as a collective, as a whole, that midfield just looked disjointed. It didn't look right, and we've got to address that. I think Arteta quite often, he reverts back to seniority in his choices, and often we see those more tried and tested players. At some point, he is going to have to really look at himself in the mirror and say, no, this is not right for the club. This is not the right choice. It's easy to put in someone like Marino, who's a very experienced player, who has played, in Spain, has played alongside someone like Zubimendi. But it really means that our midfield lacked dynamism. And for me, personally, I would love to see him just go bold and say, actually, Ethan Nwaneri, you are our number 10 cover. You are here for that reason. He's just signed a new contract, and I wonder what kind of message it sends to the player when you're saying, yes, our primary number 10 is out, but I still don't believe in you. And it just worries me slightly about, what does this mean long term? And, you can get away with it sometimes, but at some point you have to make that choice. And even if he doesn't want to do that, he has an opportunity of playing someone else out on the left wing. So instead of Eze playing out there, you've got Martinelli or a Trossard. We'll get onto those two in a little bit. But you could have brought someone else out on the left wing and then played Eze inside as a 10, whether that is with Rice and Zubimendi as a true double pivot and Eze centrally, or bring Rice out as the right 8 and then play Eze out in that left half space that he loves to pick up, and we've seen him use it in his days at Crystal Palace. I just worry about what his choices will be for the future, and if Odegaard isn't back for our next game of Man City, I just worry that he's going to kind of go back to that. In terms of the lineup itself, I was really surprised. I was expecting a lot more rotation, and Arteta didn't go for that. He stuck with the game plan, went for it again. And I guess in hindsight, it did work, but we had to make changes to do that. Defensively, Arsenal tonight were pretty strong. Not just a clean sheet handed out. They had to deal with Athletic Club's intensity, their counterattacks. And I would just say that Mosquera, for 50 million euros, no one would batter an eyelid. For 15 million euros, it is an absolute steal. The way that boy plays is unbelievable. The bravery in the passing, his ability to win duels, his pace is unbelievable. Like for him to step in for, I would argue, the best young centre-back in world football in Saliba, he has looked just as good. And that lad, I mean, it would be crazy to say William Saliba can't just step back into the team, but it does give Arteta a headache. And in terms of bringing Saliba back, you're going to have to say, actually, we're going to rest you a little bit longer. We're going to give you time to get back to full fitness, and then you can play games. But Christian Mosquera, like, take a bow. What a performance from him. In terms of like what we could improve, I guess I when I was looking at it, I'd say there were a lot of sloppy touches, especially through the midfield, and Athletic nearly punished on a few lapses. Arsenal should probably have done a bit more earlier, and the tempo could have been higher in the first half. I think the players were a bit shocked almost. We talk about tactics, you know. I go on the Cannon podcast. I talk to Wackles quite often. We talk about the tactical side. I think sometimes we have to look at the more human side of football, and that stadium was rocking. You know, they've got their commentator per se, a stadium announcer, kind of riling up the crowds. It was a real hostile environment, and at times it really felt like a derby. You know, Declan Rice got an early yellow card, and he did very well to kind of stay on the pitch and manage that after. But they were up for it. This is a team that weren't just looking at Arsenal saying, well, we'll see how we get on. They were there, and they looked at us and said, you know what? We can get 3 points in this new format. We can actually do what we want. And credit to them. Like, I mean, kind of off note, what a fantastic setup at Athletic Club to only buy Basque players. You know, players from the Basque region have been trained in the Basque region. That is an incredible feat. Not only to compete in, you know, in La Liga, but also in the Champions League. I just can't fathom how difficult that must be in modern day football with the transfer fees that are going on. For them to be able to compete is unbelievable. Yeah, bravo to them, to be fair. I think in terms of what happened tonight, so let's just go through it. I mean, in the 25th minute, Athletic Club had already had more touches in Arsenal's box, which was 10, than we allowed against Leeds in the full 90 minutes. I think that really shows their attacking intent, and also how our midfield wasn't quite kind of working as they normally would. I think sometimes they just kind of bypassed our midfield and they managed to get into the box, and fair play to them, because that is no mean feat. We are, I've said it many times, we are the best defensive unit in world football. Whether that is our first kind of back five, including David Raya, whether that is other players coming in, you know, you look at that line now. So we've got Mosquera coming in, Hincapié coming in, Miles Lewis-Skelly, who we've seldom seen this season, Ben White, who's injured. We have an incredible depth in our defence, and it's slowly looking like we've got depth in attack, thank God. I would say Urian Timber in the first kind of opening of the match was the other standout performer alongside Gyökeres. He was having a good game. He was getting on the ball. There was the ball in for Madueke in behind over and over again. However, I did feel that this was almost more of a Ben White match, being able to release earlier, being able to make those passes. And I feel like, again, it shows why it's so important having that depth in your squad and those rotational options. Zubimendi was the only one really in the opening 10 minutes to kind of bring any composure to a game, and we've been dominated. And then I feel that he grew into the game, but there's definitely some teething issues. We need to work out exactly how we use Declan Rice alongside Zubimendi and where they're best used, whether that is as a kind of nominal double pivot or if they should be kind of offset with Declan Rice being on the left. I've said it before. I like Declan Rice out on the right-hand side. I think that gives you more angles from Declan Rice, more natural kind of passing for him, especially when you look at his dead ball situations, how good his delivery is. Could we get more out from him out on the right? I don't know. But that's for another evening to kind of go through. And, just all in all, that first half, really, Valverde's teams are always tactically astute. And we saw that this evening. His 4-4-2 press is one of the best. He is so good at understanding how to get the maximum out of his players in that press. And his philosophy is just... It's kind of like a parallel between him and Arteta in terms of you must be able to press in this way. And there is no room for not putting in maximum effort. And... yeah, fair play to them because that first half, they really did kind of make it tough for us. In terms of, the second half, which is the bigger half, it was unbelievable. It was a real strange feeling. I never felt troubled and that we would kind of lose the game, but I did feel that at one point, well, maybe it will end up a goalless draw, in which case it's not a bad thing. It sounds a bit strange, but I prefer to get a draw tonight than a draw at City. I don't feel that we can afford to lose and drop points in the league. So I wasn't too worried. And I did feel that we had something, we have got these options now. And I will quickly bring up, there was one moment, ironically, I think it was the first half, where it was towards near, the beginning of the game. Arteta was shouting at Eze, and he was asking him to, come wider, don't start going in half spaces. The problem is, when that was happening, and I think it's been blown out of proportion slightly, Calafiori was stepping into the half space. And it's really important that we do keep some width, especially with the midfield three that we were using. It's hard to have another player congest that area. This is something that we are going to need to develop. As they had, a fair performance. It wasn't a good performance. I wouldn't say it was particularly bad, but he has got to learn the system. And I think the players have got to start building these relationships. Calafiori has got to understand when he steps into those areas and half spaces, and when Eze should be receiving kind of more centrally, it's going to take time. I have no doubt Eze will be a success at Arsenal. He is too good on the ball not to be. He's a fantastic technician. However, the way that we play is integral to our success. And for us to continue that, Eze is going to have to kind of learn the system, and the player's going to have to learn Eze. So it is what it is. It's not a particularly bad performance before people start saying that. I'll try to have a look. I mean, let's go for the goal because it's mad how quickly things can change in football, isn't it? So 70 minutes, 35 seconds. Gabriel Martinelli steps off the bench. 71 minutes and I think 11 seconds, something like that. Martinelli gives the lead from, within, I think it's 36 seconds. The only goal quicker ever in the Champions League is Lookman at 35 seconds. So 1 second difference. And again, a Trossard assist, which was fantastic. Trossard being, the efficient player that he is. I said that he should probably be leaving the club. I looked and said if there was one player I would be kind of moving out the door in that attacking line, it would be him. But nevertheless, looks like the club have made the right decision. He came in for Gyökeres, and it was a lovely first-time ball from him. Martinelli had a lot to do, taking it down with his head, kind of two players bearing down on him, went through on goal, and it wasn't the perfect finish, but a finish is a finish, and that's what we needed him to do. And again, Martinelli in transition, that's what he's there for. We need to get him in those central zones. And if you look back at the goal, he is not starting from a wide position. He's actually starting from a central position, runs on beyond Trossard and gets the goal. Later on as well, the reverse happens. Martinelli on the wing, cuts inside. He goes right to the bar line. He's looking down at his feet and finally looks up, cuts it back for Trossard, and Trossard with the finish. This is what squad depth does. This is what we have been needing. If you look back at last season, we would have been bringing on Raheem Sterling. Let that sink in. Raheem Sterling. And quite possibly someone like Butler Oyedeji, not ready for the Champions League. It's huge for the club that we have got these options, and they're all slightly different options. Players that are good in tight spaces, players that are good in one-on-one situations, players that are good in transition. We are building up a great list of options, and if we can get Kai Havertz back, we are getting ourselves stronger again. If we get ourselves Bukayo Saka back, we are becoming far stronger. And fair play to Mikel Arteta, because that was a brilliant choice of substitutions and just what we needed just at the right time. Arsenal 2, Athletic Club 0. Fantastic start. And the only thing I'm going to say is Mikel Arteta, perfect substitutions apart from one thing. Let's get Max down with them. Like and subscribe. I'll catch you in the next one.